Episode 9. I only had 48 hours to pass the most important exam of my entire life. Can you imagine having only 1 or 2 days to prepare for the most decisive moment of your entire life? Have you ever felt that absolutely your entire future, all your deepest dreams, everything you had fought for and sacrificed during long years depended completely on a single opportunity that could disappear forever? Today, I am going to share the exciting story of how I desperately raced against time in a completely unknown city, how I prepared for the most important exam of my life with only 48 hours, and how finally, after countless years of struggles and devastating disappointments, I managed to realize the impossible dream. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you've been following my incredible journey through the Soviet Union, you already know that my life has been a true roller coaster of intense emotions, moments of pure joy alternating with periods of deep sadness and painful rejection. But today, I'm going to share the absolutely most exciting, tense, and decisive chapter of my entire story. Please leave your like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate that notification bell. Before we continue, please like and follow the channel for more incredible stories of strength and overcoming. Then leave a comment about what you thought of the story. It was the year 1984, and I was firmly holding in my trembling hands the official authorization that would completely change my life forever. The vice president of the prestigious Ministry of Culture of the Soviet Union had personally given me a chance that seemed absolutely impossible just days earlier. After years of being rejected and dismissed by my own Afghan government, after being told cruelly by that horrible ambassador that Afghanistan didn't need culture, music, or art, a complete stranger from another country had extended her hand to help me pursue my deepest dreams. I remember that transformative moment at the ministry in Moscow like it was yesterday. That wonderful lady, the Assistant Minister of Culture, had looked at me with genuine kindness and said those magical words I will never forget. Please don't worry. I will help you to pursue your dreams. But you have to show your talent to a music school where I will be sending you. If you pass the exams, and if they accept you, I promise you that I will transfer you to the school that you love to study music and art. No more waste of time for you. Those words had given me hope when I had none left. Those words had pulled me up from the deepest darkness and shown me there was still light, still possibility, still a chance to make my dreams come true. And now, just days later, I was standing at the Moscow train station, holding my small suitcase with my few belongings and my precious folder containing all my musical certificates, recommendations, awards, and documentation proving my talent. I was about to board the train that would take me to Kiev, the beautiful capital city of Ukraine, where the prestigious Clear Music Academy was waiting to examine me. My heart was beating like a powerful drum as I climbed aboard that train. This was it. This was my moment. After so many years of struggling and fighting, I finally had a real chance to study music professionally at a legitimate, respected institution. But I also knew this opportunity could slip through my fingers if I didn't perform exceptionally well. The train journey from Moscow to Kiev took many long hours. I sat by the window watching the Soviet countryside pass by. Vast fields, small villages, forests, rivers, but my mind was far away, constantly rehearsing songs in my head, going over vocal exercises, preparing myself mentally and emotionally for what lay ahead. I thought about my mother Mari, thousands of kilometers away in war-torn Afghanistan. I wished desperately I could call her and tell her about this incredible opportunity. I thought about my beloved grandfather Ghulam Ali Omid, the composer and artist who had first shown me that art was not weakness, but strength. I thought about my other grandfather, Professor Maimonides, whose powerful portrait still hung in Afghanistan's National Museum. I felt their artistic blood flowing through my veins, giving me strength. I won't let you down, I whispered to myself. I will make you proud. I will prove that your artistic legacy lives on through me. That beautiful morning, after what felt like an eternity of traveling, the train finally pulled into Kiev's main terminal station. I gathered my belongings quickly and stepped off onto the platform, looking around with wide, curious eyes at this new city that could potentially become my home. Kiev was absolutely magnificent, even more beautiful than Donetsk. The city had a rich, ancient history dating back over 1,000 years. I could see beautiful, Orthodox churches with their distinctive golden domes glittering in the morning sunlight, wide boulevards lined with majestic trees, impressive buildings displaying various architectural styles, and everywhere a sense of culture, history, and artistic tradition that made my heart sing with joy. After asking several people for directions and figuring out the local transportation system, I finally found the right bus that would take me to the Music Academy. My hands were trembling with nervous anticipation as I held onto the bus rail, watching the city pass by, getting closer and closer to my destination and my destiny. When the bus finally stopped near the academy and I stepped off, I stood there for a long moment, just staring at the building in front of me with absolute awe. The Glir Music Academy was housed in a beautiful, elegant building with classical architecture that spoke of tradition, excellence, and artistic prestige. It looked exactly like the kind of place where serious musicians studied, where talent was nurtured, where dreams could become reality. I took a deep breath, straightened my modern clothes that I always wore with pride, picked up my suitcase and folder, and walked confidently toward the entrance. This was the most exciting and nerve-wracking moment of my entire life. I was very anxious and excited to find out what kind of future was waiting for me behind those impressive doors. As I entered inside the Music Academy, it seemed like absolute paradise to me. From every room in the long corridors, I could hear the beautiful sound of music, the sound of many different musical instruments being played with skill and passion. I heard violins singing sweetly, pianos producing rich melodies, cellos creating deep emotional tones, and voices, so many beautiful voices singing classical music with proper technique and genuine feeling. It was exactly the way I had always imagined a real music academy was supposed to be. This was a place where music was taken seriously, where it was studied systematically and professionally, where talented students dedicated themselves completely to mastering their craft. I felt like I had finally found where I truly belonged. After talking to a few polite students and asking them where I could find the Academy's administrative office, the students kindly guided me where to go. I thanked them warmly and continued on my way, my heart pounding harder with each step. As soon as I found the correct office, I stood outside the door for a brief moment, gathering my courage. Then I politely knocked on the heavy wooden door and heard a voice from inside asking me to enter. I opened the door and stepped inside. There was a distinguished-looking man sitting behind a big table covered with papers, books, and official documents. He looked up and politely asked, "Can I help you?" I immediately introduced myself clearly and confidently. "Good morning, sir. My name is Wahid Omid. I'm a student from Afghanistan, currently studying in Donetsk. The Ministry of Culture in Moscow sent me here to be examined for possible admission to your vocal program." The man's face immediately lit up with recognition and a warm smile. He stood up and came closer, extending his hand for a firm handshake. He introduced himself as the director of the Music Academy and said with genuine warmth, "Hello, Wahid. Welcome to our music and art school. We were waiting for you. Let's go downstairs right now and meet our school as musical teachers, because today they are examining students for our various music programs." He explained as we walked that I would be tested and carefully examined for my ability to study music, art, and vocals at a professional level. He also told me something that made me feel both excited and relieved. The Music Academy authorities already knew everything about my talent and musical achievements because they had received all the information about me directly from the ministry in Moscow, including my first-place victory at the International Political Music Festival in Donetsk. I was super excited, but also felt nervous. The stakes were incredibly high, but I promised myself to be good, to do my absolute best, and to not lose this precious opportunity. I had come too far, fought too hard, sacrificed too much to fail now. We walked together through the corridors, and finally we stopped at the front of a room with very big, impressive double doors. At the front of that room, I saw many other students waiting nervously to get in for their examinations. Some looked confident, others looked terrified, but all shared the same desperate hope, the hope of being accepted into this prestigious institution. The director asked me politely to wait in the corridor with the other students, and then he entered the room alone. After a few minutes that felt like hours, he came back out and told me with an encouraging smile that I would go in for my examination very soon, and he wished me good luck. I stood there very patiently waiting, trying to calm my racing heart. I was listening carefully to each one of those other students going into that room for their examinations and then coming out. Some came out looking happy and confident. Others looked disappointed or upset. Each person's reaction made my own nervousness increase. That day I was worried, but I kept telling myself repeatedly to be strong and firm, to believe in my talent and training, to trust in all the hard work I had put into developing my voice over the years. I absolutely had to be accepted into that wonderful music academy. This was my chance, possibly my only chance, to finally study music properly. I thought about all the sacrifices that had brought me to this moment. I thought about jumping from that second-floor window. I thought about the pain of being rejected by my own government. I thought about the years studying agriculture when all I wanted was music. I thought about the assistant minister in Moscow who had believed in me when my own people didn't. All of that had led to this crucial moment. After what seemed like an eternity of waiting, after watching student after student enter and exit that examination room, I finally heard my name being called. Wahid Omid. This was it. This was my moment of truth. I took one final deep breath, straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin with confidence, and entered inside that huge, intimidating room with as much courage as I could gather. The examination room was even larger than I had imagined. I immediately saw a big, beautiful grand piano positioned in one corner, with an experienced pianist sitting behind it, ready to play. On the other side of the room, I saw 5 serious-looking school teachers sitting behind a long table with pens and paper in front of them, ready to take notes and evaluate my performance. The atmosphere was formal, professional, and somewhat intimidating, but I refused to let fear overcome me. I politely said, "Good morning," with a clear, strong voice, and introduced myself properly. My name is Wahid Omid. I'm from Afghanistan, and I'm here to be examined for the vocal program. One of the teachers, a woman with kind eyes but a serious expression, immediately asked me a direct question. Do you have any formal musical education? Have you studied at any musical secondary school or conservatory? This was the question I had been dreading, because I knew my answer would not be impressive compared to other candidates who probably had years of formal training. But I had decided to be completely honest. Unfortunately not, ma'am, I replied truthfully. I only studied part-time at the Donetsk Music Conservatory, while I was officially enrolled in an agricultural university. Unfortunately, I always had significant problems with my family in Afghanistan regarding studying music professionally, and also here in the Soviet Union as well. There were many difficulties and confusion for me in pursuing my musical dreams. But despite all these obstacles, I never stopped practicing, performing, and developing my voice. I saw the teachers exchanging glances, and I couldn't tell if they were impressed by my honesty or disappointed by my lack of formal training. Then one of the male teachers, an older man with gray hair, said something that gave me hope. Well, perhaps those difficulties are behind you now. Let's hear what you can do. They asked me if I knew any classical songs. Fortunately, All my hard work and intensive training at the Donetsk Music Conservatory had paid off. I had prepared several classical songs specifically for situations like this, songs that would showcase my vocal range, technical ability, emotional expression, and musical interpretation skills. Yes, I have prepared several pieces, I replied confidently. I can sing in Russian, in Italian if you prefer classical opera arias, and also in my native languages. They seemed pleasantly surprised. Let's start with a Russian classical song, one teacher said. I nodded to the pianist, told him which song I would sing and in what key, and he began playing the introduction. As the beautiful piano melody filled the room, I felt all my nervousness melting away, replaced by pure focus and artistic expression. This was what I was born to do. I began to sing, and immediately I could see the change in the teacher's expressions. They sat up straighter, leaned forward slightly, their eyes widening with interest. I poured all my emotion, all my technique, all my passion into that performance, remembering everything my conservatory teachers had taught me about breath control, proper resonance, and connecting emotionally with the lyrics. When I finished the song, there was a brief moment of silence, and then one of the teachers said simply, "Another one, please." Something different in style. I sang another piece, and then another. Each time I finished, they asked for one more, testing my versatility, my stamina, my ability to shift between different emotional tones and musical styles. Then the examination moved to the technical portion. The pianist started playing various sounds and complicated techniques on the piano scales, arpeggios, unusual intervals, complex melodic patterns, and the teachers asked me to repeat those exact sounds with my voice, matching the pitch perfectly. This was much easier for me than I had expected. Thanks to my natural musical ear and all my years of practical performing experience, I could reproduce the sounds accurately and quickly. I repeated all the different kinds of rhythms they presented, clapping complex patterns, demonstrating that I had not only vocal ability, but also strong general musicianship and rhythmic sense. Thanks to my dedication, my musical experience accumulated over many years, and my hard work and relentless practice, I did very well at the examination. I could see it clearly in the teachers' faces. They were impressed, genuinely impressed with what they had heard and seen. When the examination finally concluded, after what felt like an eternity of singing, technical tests and musical challenges, the teachers thanked me politely. Then one of them said the words that would make this the longest night of my life. The school authorities will review all candidates carefully. Please come back tomorrow morning to find out if you have been accepted. The results will be posted on the board outside this building at 9 o'clock in the morning. I thanked them sincerely, shook hands with each teacher respectfully, and left that examination room feeling emotionally drained, but also strangely hopeful. I had done my absolute best. I had showcased my talent as fully as possible. Now all I could do was wait and hope and pray that it had been enough. I remember that night very clearly. It was absolutely the longest night of my entire life. I had found a small, inexpensive hotel room near the academy. I lay on the narrow bed in that modest room, staring at the ceiling for hours, unable to sleep despite my exhaustion. I was simultaneously very excited and very nervous to find out if they would accept me or not. My mind kept replaying every moment of the examination. Had I sung well enough? Had I made any mistakes? How did I compare to the other candidates? Were the teachers impressed, or were they just being polite? I thought about the statistics. In the vocal category, the Academy would choose only 5 people from more than 20 talented participants who had applied. When I had first heard that news, I had felt sick in my stomach, and I had thought there was absolutely no realistic chance for me, because I had seen and heard many other talented vocalists applying. Many of them had years of formal training that I lacked. Many came from established musical families with connections. But then I reminded myself of everything I had overcome to reach this point. I thought about my unique journey, about all the obstacles I had conquered, about my proven ability to succeed despite disadvantages. Maybe, just maybe, the teachers had seen something special in me. Maybe my passion, my dedication, my life experience had set me apart from other candidates who had more conventional backgrounds. I must have finally fallen asleep in the early morning hours, because the next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through the window, and my small travel alarm clock was ringing insistently. It was 7:30 in the morning. I had 90 minutes until the results would be posted. I jumped out of bed, quickly washed and dressed, and tried to eat some breakfast. Though my stomach was tied in such tight knots, I could barely swallow any food. Then I left the hotel and walked slowly toward the academy, arriving intentionally early because I couldn't stand waiting in my room any longer. When I arrived at the front of the Music Academy building, I saw that many other anxious students were already there as well, all of us waiting nervously to find out if we had been accepted or not. Some students were pacing back and forth, unable to stand still. Others stood in small groups, talking quietly and trying to support each other. A few stood alone like me, lost in their own thoughts and prayers. The tension in the air was almost unbearable. Every few minutes, someone would check their watch and announce how many more minutes until 9 o'clock. Time seemed to move incredibly slowly, each minute feeling like an hour. Finally, at exactly 9 o'clock in the morning, the heavy doors of the academy opened and a staff member came out carrying a large wooden board with papers attached to it. The moment we had all been desperately waiting for had arrived. Everyone rushed forward simultaneously toward that big wooden board to find out if their names appeared on the acceptance lists or not. It was absolute chaos. Students pushing, standing on tiptoes, craning their necks to see, some laughing with joy, others gasping with disappointment. The lists were organized carefully by category, according to what instrument or specialty each person would be studying: piano, violin, voice, composition. I had to push my way through the crowd, my heart beating so fast I thought it might explode, searching desperately for the singers and vocal category list. When I finally found the right section, I had to read through the names slowly and carefully, because my eyes were blurred with nervous tears and my hands were trembling so badly. There were only 5 names on that list, just 5 out of more than 20 candidates who had auditioned. I read the first name, not mine. The second name, not mine. The third name, still not mine. The fourth name, and then I saw it. There it was, Wahid Omid. My name was on that list. I had been accepted. When I saw my name written there on that official acceptance list, I became completely overcome with powerful emotion. Tears of pure happiness and overwhelming relief started falling down from my eyes uncontrollably. I couldn't stop them. I didn't even try to stop them. I just stood there crying openly in front of all those other students, not caring what anyone thought of me. Finally, after so many years of struggling and fighting and being rejected and disappointed, after being told by my own ambassador that my country didn't need music or culture, after being forced to study agriculture when all I wanted was to develop my voice, after jumping from windows and breaking with my family and sacrificing so much, finally, I had won this incredibly hard battle. I had been accepted to study at one of the most prestigious music academies in the entire Soviet Union. I would be able to study music professionally, systematically, with world-class teachers who could help me develop my talent to its fullest potential. My impossible dream was becoming real. Immediately, still crying with joy, I went to find the director of the academy. When I located his office and knocked on the door, he opened it and saw my tear-stained face and immediately understood. He gave me a big, warm, fatherly hug, something very unusual in formal Soviet academic culture, and said warmly and sincerely, "Congratulations, Wahid. Welcome to our academy. I wish you all of the best success in your studies here." Then he told me some practical information I needed to know. He asked me to return to the city of Donetsk temporarily to prepare myself properly for the permanent move to Kiev. I would need to pack all my belongings, say goodbye to my friends and colleagues there, and handle various administrative matters. He also mentioned something incredibly reassuring. He told me clearly that I didn't need to worry at all about the complicated school changing process and all the bureaucratic paperwork involved in transferring from one institution to another. The academy administration would organize and handle the complete transformation of all my official documents and records, working directly with the government authorities and the Ministry of Culture who had sent me there. Everything would be taken care of properly and officially. Just come back in 2 weeks ready to begin your new life as a music student, the director said with a kind smile. Your real education is about to begin, Wahid. Make the most of this opportunity. We're very happy to have you here. If you made it this far, leave your like and subscribe. Thank you. I left that academy building walking on air, barely able to believe what had just happened. I felt like I was in a beautiful dream, and I was terrified that I might wake up at any moment and discover it wasn't real. But it was real. It was absolutely real. As I walked through the beautiful streets of Kiev that morning, everything seemed more colorful, more beautiful, more alive than it had been just a few hours earlier. The golden domes of the churches gleamed more brilliantly. The trees seemed greener. The people seemed friendlier. The entire world had transformed because my life had transformed. I found a quiet park and sat on a bench, just absorbing everything that had happened. I thought about everyone who had helped me reach this moment. My mother Mari, who had always believed in me and supported my dreams even when it was dangerous. My grandfather, Ghulam Ali Omid, who had first shown me that art was strength, not weakness. My grandfather, Professor Maima Nagy, whose paintings had inspired me. My uncle Dawood, who had encouraged me to keep making music even as he was being taken away to his death. Vladimir Petrovich in Donetsk, who had given me a chance to perform professionally. And most recently, that wonderful assistant minister of culture in Moscow, who had extended her hand to help me when my own government had rejected me. I pulled out paper and a pen from my bag and immediately wrote a long emotional letter to my mother, telling her everything. About going to Moscow, about the cruel rejection by the ambassador, about the kindness of the Soviet minister, about the examination in Kiev, and most importantly, about being accepted to study music professionally at last. Dear Mother, I wrote with tears dripping onto the paper, your son has finally achieved what seemed impossible. After all these years of struggle, I will study music properly. I will develop the talent that runs in our family blood. I will make you proud, and I will honor the memory of both my grandfathers. Your faith in me was not misplaced. Thank you for never giving up on my dreams, even when everyone else did. As I finished writing that letter and sealed the envelope, I made a silent promise to myself and to everyone who had believed in me. I promised that I would work harder than any other student at that academy. I promised that I would make the absolute most of this precious opportunity that had been given to me. I promised that I would become the best musician I could possibly be, honoring all the sacrifices and all the support that had brought me to this moment. My journey was far from over. In fact, in many ways, it was just beginning. The real work of becoming a professional musician lay ahead. Years of intensive study, demanding practice, difficult classes, and constant challenges. But for the first time in my life, I would be facing those challenges as an official music student at a prestigious conservatory, not as someone trying to pursue music secretly while studying something else. The impossible had become possible. The dream had become reality, and I was ready for whatever came next. And this is where this chapter of my incredible story ends. But as you can imagine, my journey continues with many more unexpected twists, challenges, and triumphs waiting ahead. What will happen during my years studying at the Kiev Music Academy? What new opportunities and obstacles will I encounter? How will my life change as I finally receive the professional musical education I fought so hard to obtain? And what about the ongoing war in Afghanistan? How will that affect my future? If you want to know what happened next in my extraordinary journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on this video and activate the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Share in the comments what you felt while watching this story. Have you ever achieved something you thought was impossible? Have you ever had someone believe in you when others didn't? Your comments and support mean absolutely everything to me. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next episode.